I'm going to call the meeting, the March 18th, 2025 meeting of the Southern Planning and Zoning Commission to order. Dave LaValle, could you please call the roll?
Sure. Alternate Commissioner Salmieri.
Here.
Alternate Commissioner Gaida.
Here.
Alternate Commissioner Ma.
Here.
Alternate Commissioner Card.
Here.
Commissioner Tedesco. Commissioner Sewell.
Yes.
Commissioner Coles.
Present.
Commissioner Britton. Commissioner Chaplinsky.
Here.
Vice Chair Walowski.
Here.
And Chair Hammersley.
Hammersley's here. I did hear from Commissioners Britton and Tedesco that they wouldn't be here tonight. We'll see Commissioner Salmieri at Commissioner Britton's place and Commissioner Gaida in Commissioner Tedesco's place. With that, we have a quorum. If we can all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If we could all remain standing for a moment of silent reflection, please. Thank you. Looking for a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting on March 4th, 2025. Commissioner Walowski,
So moved, Mr. Chair.
is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Chaplinsky with a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Commissioner discussion, subcommittees, is there anything?
Yes, Mr.
Commissioner
Chair.
Sewell? Yep.
Thank you. At the last meeting, I was not here, and as many of you know, I'm the chair of the Plan of Conservation and Development Subcommittee, and there was some confusion at the last meeting between Todd Chaplinsky and I. He's vice chair of the POCD, and possibly a wrong list was read about the members that were supposed to be presented. Not looking to make a big deal out of it, but I just spent the last 15 minutes and had a very productive conversation with Commissioner Chaplinsky, and we're working out those details. And just wanted to let the commission know that the list that was voted at the last meeting was not a united list that he and I approved. There was a lot of going in back and forth, might have not been intentional, but we're working through that, and we'll have an update for the commission at the next meeting. It relates to one or two names that were of confusion and a name that was taken off. And I'm going to ask for a legal opinion on one particular person, if it possibly means we can't have that person because of a quorum, but I do believe we'll be able to work that out and have an update at the next meeting, go from there.
Okay, I'm just going to say from a procedural standpoint that commission, that subcommittee was voted on and approved unanimously by this group at the last meeting, and that the names that were read continue to sit on that commission. As the chairman, it's my prerogative to put who I want on a commission, and as you know, I had floated those names out to you earlier this year without much feedback. But I do thank you, Commissioner Sewell, for bringing this to my attention. And I did have a conversation with our town manager earlier today about it. And what I was told was the commission that we have now is made up of, understandably, of Democrats and Republicans. And right now, that commission consists of 5 Republicans and 2 Democrats. And so I would look for, hopefully, Commissioner Coles can help us out and find somebody. It was suggested that we find a Democrat from the Water Conservation Commission, Watercourse and Conservation Commission, to see if they would be willing to sit on this. Again, I'll reiterate that this is a subcommittee of a bigger process, and that every member of this commission will have final say on whatever, or those of us who are here at least, a year from now, will have final say on what the Plan of Conservation and Development looks like, and that it's a community-wide event where all members of the community are given equal ability to weigh in on that. The subcommittee, as somebody who has run a subcommittee, I'm aware that the subcommittee just sort of does the day-to-day stuff and works with the town staff and eventually the consultant to move that process along and to sort of just oversee the public hearings and public input sessions that we're going to have. So just want to make sure that the record's clear and everybody understands. The last thing I'll say is just maybe splitting hairs, Todd is a co-chair, he's not a vice chair. He was named as a co-chair, not a vice chair. So, and that was done because we needed some consistency with the elections coming up, just to make sure that we had somebody, and Todd's term doesn't end for another 3 years, that, to make sure that somebody was there throughout. So, and that's why Caleb is on there as well, to give that consistency also. So with that, go for it.
I respect everything you're saying, but unfortunately, the list that was read to the commission was not the list that Todd and I approved. I understand there was a mistake that was had, and there was some other confusion about a Democrat name, but you changed one of the names on someone that we did not approve. There was another Republican that I was gonna add that I didn't have an opportunity to, and Todd and I had a discussion that afternoon of the meeting that we were supposed to meet that weekend and discuss that person.
Okay, and,
I'm not done.
okay,
So not only did a name get switched, one did not get added, and then you guys took a Democrat off. And I think having 5 or 6 and 3 is appropriate. To bring it down to only 2 Democrats, I don't agree with. So yes, they voted. Yes, these people are on the committee. But the committee, or the commission that's up here now, they voted on the fact that it was a united list between Todd and I. And it was not a united list. Todd and I had the agreement that the list wasn't going to go forward. I understand that he was put into a predicament. It was a last-minute decision. Things got complicated. But I don't believe, and I won't speak for everybody else, that they voted on a list that they thought that Todd and I worked together on. We just sat down for 15 minutes and narrowed this down to about 90% perfection, and I think in the next hour after this meeting, we'll have it finalized. But it's not fair for transparency purposes to have misled the people on this commission, to have taken advantage of me not being here, and to have moved forward when we just had a meeting a week before saying that we were going to lay low and nothing was going to happen because we don't have a consultant. So I'd like to hear from the other people on this board if they were happy with making a vote with a list that Todd and I did not agree with together. We had a list, we were on the same page, and then you asked Todd to bring this forward. So these people were not approved by me as the chair, and yes, you can think that you have permission to pick everybody. That's not what you had told me before, and I can assure you the names that I picked, you would have been very pleased with. But you tried to override me, change the list, and you put Todd in a bad situation. And I'm trying to keep it clean on the record, but that was not fair. You might have spoke with the town attorney or the town manager this morning. I spoke with the town attorney, and he's not happy with the way that this went. So I appreciate the dialogue, and I know we're going to be able to fix this, but the list was not the appropriate list brought forward. That's not transparency, Mr. Chair.
okay. So Mr. Sewell's asked for perspectives from everybody else about what they think about the list that we all approved at the meeting on March 4th.
I appreciate both your perspectives. I'm from the person who voted on it, and my perspective, I had anticipated that that was agreed upon by your caucus, and that was what was going to be the final decision. I like process, and I just wish that the process was a little bit cleaner, and that the communication on your caucus's side would have been a little bit more upfront. I will do whatever I can to help you guys find, if you're looking for another Democrat, I will ring the bell and I'll find your person. I do have a question though. As far as a quorum is concerned with our group, how many members would be considered a quorum for Planning and Zoning Commission members?
A majority of members, so we have 7 members, 4 members would be considered a quorum.
That's a quorum. Okay.
So that's why it's limited, no more than, and these are parameters that I set out early on to people who I asked to come up with a list of names, that there be no more than 3 members from the Planning and Zoning Commission. So as it stands right now, you, Todd, and Jamie constitute 3 members, which would prohibit us from putting another member from P&Z. And frankly, I think because P&Z gets final say on all of this at the end with the Plan of Conservation and Development, overloading it with P&Z members is a little bit unfair to the other 43,480 85 members of our community that
That
might
could
want to
stand
be,
in.
might want to take part in this. But I
No,
appreciate
then
your
that's,
comments.
yeah. So that's kind of what I wanted to make sure that we had some clarity on. We'll communicate a recommendation over the next week or so.
Yeah, I think, again, what was suggested was that we find a Democrat who serves on the Conservation and Inland Resource Commission. I think that there's 2 members on there right now that are full-time members, and there's a couple alternates, just like we have here. So if you could reach out to those folks and see if there's any interest, I certainly would appreciate you bringing that forward. But I appreciate your comment. So anybody else want to respond to Commissioner Sewell's request?
So while I didn't have voting rights to vote at the last meeting because I wasn't a seated member, I echo Caleb's sentiments. The only thing is, I just think that I don't know, I just think it's interesting that Jamie wasn't present and it was voted on. And I would have thought that the list would have been something cohesive that the chairs would have agreed upon.
Anybody else?
Just the same. Sorry. Yeah.
Kat, put yourself on the record. Same, ditto?
Yes. More of the same. You know, it's, as far as a consistent approach from the commission, or from the POCD group would be what we'd expect, so
Okay,
Mr. Chair, if I could.
appreciate
sure.
transparency.
Commissioner-
appreciate everybody's
Hold on one
dialogue.
second.
Yes.
Commissioner Caird, were you done?
Oh, I appreciate the transparency now. I know this is hard to do, and thank you.
Always
For
transparent,
conversation.
Kat, always transparent. Before you go for
Yes, sir.
second or third times,
Yes.
Commissioner Wolowski is asking.
I'd like to offer up that Commissioner Chaplinsky is a co-chair, not vice chair. So when the list came forward, it was presented to us as if he had your authority. If you guys did not have this situation worked out, then that is beyond our parameter. Enough said.
Vice chair, co-chair, I understand. the
Commissioner
co-
Sewell?
Yep, go ahead.
You were
Sorry.
not recognized, number
Sorry.
one, it's still my clock. You had ample time to put this list together, you failed, which is why we had to appoint you a co-chair. So if you want to keep this going, the floor is yours.
Commissioner Sewell?
Thank you for recognizing me. Co-chair or vice chair, Todd was the very first person that I went to many months ago, and he knew that he was going to be co-chair. But he also understands that he and I did have a list, and we were 95% done with that list. And there was some confusion at the last minute. He was kind of pushed to read a list, and I understand one of the calls that he made. But there was another name that he and I did not agree to that was put on, and there was another person that we were supposed to meet that weekend with to decide if we were going to put those people on. So we had just met a week before, John Clark, Todd and myself, co-chair, and we said, you know what, we're dead in the water right now because we don't have a consultant. And there's not going to be much that we're going to be doing. So I didn't fail. He and I were working together very well. We had a list, and we were going to iron out 1 or 2 people. Okay? So we had an agreement that it was going to be talked about the next week or the next meeting in 2 weeks, and we were perfectly aligned. So some of it was confusion, and some of it was a list he was given at the last minute and he read off, and he didn't quite understand what the implications were if he read off that list. So I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. But the list needs to be presented by him and I, and the committee needs to understand that that list comes from co-chair and myself. So I'm going to chalk it up as being confusion, but when I spoke to the town attorney this morning, he was not okay with this process. So I'm trying to keep it clean, I'm trying to keep it calm, and I just don't appreciate the attack you just gave me, because I didn't fail. Todd and I were in a great spot, we had a great meeting, and we were perfectly aligned. So while the commission voted, they voted on a list that wasn't totally accurate. And all I'm saying is, let's keep it clean, let's keep it neat, we're gonna fix it and come forward. But then the list cannot be changed. And quite frankly, I have a problem with the fact that a Democrat was taken off. We could have replaced that Democrat. So I think in the perfect world, we could have said, let's just wait another 2 weeks, because we have no consultants.
Well,
So this is not transparency, and this is not in the town's best interest to be rushing this and be picking names and convincing that the board that everything is fine and here's the list when it's not accurate. That is not transparency.
let me first respond by saying that I'm not aware that you have the authority to speak on behalf of our town attorney. And in the event that there was an issue, I'm sure that the town attorney would have contacted me as the chairman of the Planning and Zoning Commission, whose subcommittee this is of. It's not my commission, it's not your subcommittee, it's not Steve's subcommittee, it's the Planning and Zoning Commission's subcommittee. I did not get a contact from Mr. Mataccio, Attorney Mataccio, at any point during the day, and he's been very thorough about contacting me in instances where there's been a problem. So I'm not quite sure your representation of what he said is completely accurate, but that's fine. I'm just going to say again, since we're into putting things on the record, you were appointed as a chairman of the POCD subcommittee by myself, again, my prerogative, to do that at our April 16th, 2024 meeting. For almost a year, you didn't set up a subcommittee, which I told you on numerous occasions was the first order of business, and nothing got done. I reached out to you again later last year in 2024 about getting a subcommittee together, and I was told that you would, by you, that you would do it. Still nothing. Over December of last year, Dave LaValle, Jen Clark, and myself emailed you a number of times over the course of 2 or 3 weeks, all on a town email, all FOIable, by the way, asking you for names for the subcommittee. We heard nothing. We didn't hear I'm putting it together. We didn't hear I'm working on it. We didn't hear I have some thoughts I want to share with you. We heard nothing. We heard no response. I pushed again in January of last year, or this year, asking you again if you had some names. I got no response. I gave you a list of potential people that I had spoken to and Jen Clark had spoken to about people who are willing to volunteer their time to serve on the subcommittee. And those names are the names that were put forward 2 weeks ago and voted on and approved by this commission. I didn't hear any feedback from you about whether you liked them, you didn't like them, who you liked, who you didn't like, who you wanted, who you didn't want. I heard nothing. I heard at one point maybe I'm working on something. And you asked me, could I do that? I told you at the January meeting, on the record, in the meeting, I said, we needed to put this POCD subcommittee together ASAP. January, February, nothing. March, nothing, right? I say, what's going on? I hear nothing. I sent you an email the morning of our last meeting, you and Todd, two co-chairs, an email asking you if you had a list of names to bring forward because I wanted to do it tonight. Disregard the consultant. I'm not worried about that. We still got to move the process along. With or without a consultant, we still have an obligation to move it along. As chairman of this commission, I have an obligation and a responsibility to the people of our town that elected me and the members of this commission that elected me as the chairman to make sure that it moves along. And Jen Clark, who did this process 9 years ago and is well-versed on it, who has agreed to give us more of her time to do this, was pushing and saying, reminding all of us, you, Commissioner Sewell, Dave LaValle, myself, was reminding us that we needed to get it done. Let's go. And despite all that, nothing. I heard crickets. We leave the last meeting, we voted on it. Todd, I talked to Todd that day and said, hey, these are the people that I put forward, which Todd knew, because I shared that with him as well, being a co-chair. And Todd said, sure, I'll bring it forward. So he brought it forward. We voted on it. People miss meetings all the time. Rob Britton's not here tonight. If we take a vote tonight, doesn't mean that Rob Britton can come back 2 weeks from now and say, hey, wait a second, we shouldn't have voted on that because I wasn't here. It happens. Everyone has obligations outside of here. We're all volunteers here. Everyone's volunteering. Everyone's trying to do what they think is best for the people of this town. Doesn't mean we're always right. Certainly doesn't mean that we're always wrong. But we gotta move on. This is, in my opinion, to be blunt about it, much to do about nothing. It's a subcommittee of a process that the entire town is going to be invited to be a part of. It's like setting up a subcommittee or a housing plan that we did, 2-3 years ago. Okay, the subcommittee really doesn't do much except bring it forward. I chaired a subcommittee on sign regulations 9 years ago. I came forward, I was actually handed a group of members. I didn't get to pick. I was told, these people are going to be your members. 5 members, okay. And I developed great relationships with these people working through those regulations. It was a great time. I enjoyed it. And we came forward about 6 months after the subcommittee started, and we presented a proposed regulation, for the commission to take up. Because I recognize that the commission has the final say. The commission took it up. I think we may have tweaked 1 or 2 items, and we passed it. And those are our sign regulations today. But it's a subcommittee. It's not that, it's just part of the process. But yet, we needed to move the process forward. And with all due respect, Commissioner Sewell, we can't wait. We had waited for almost an entire year. April 16th, we had waited. And you and I communicated, and I communicated to you that I was waiting, and I didn't hear anything. So I can't sit idly by waiting for somebody to do something because I'm elected, we're elected to lead, and lead we shall. And that's the way that it happens. And in terms of transparency, and an accusation was made in your earlier correspondence to the commission about ethical issues, the temerity of making that accusation against any of us is preposterous. It's insane, and it's insulting. So we're all trying to do things what we think are best. Let's all move forward. And if we have a problem with that or anyone has a problem with that, by all means, talk to me. And you all know that I'm available, maybe to a fault, perhaps. And you know I'm available, maybe to a fault. And I do things more transparent. I will put my transparency and my way that I run a commission up against anybody in this town and anybody in this state as being above board on everything, everything. And you all might get sick of hearing from me sometimes because I share everything with you. That wasn't the way it was when I came here, and I didn't like it, but that's fine. I dealt with it. And when I became chair, I committed myself to being transparent. And I've gone out of my way and make efforts every day to be transparent to you, to the other members that are sitting here and members who aren't sitting here, to members of our community. I let everybody know what's going on to the extent I'm allowed to. And by that I mean that when we're in public hearing, we can't talk about those items in public hearing, so I don't. Because legally we can't do that. And I've been told that you can't do that by lawyers who deal with land use policy in the state of Connecticut and nationally. So that's my 2 cents. I think we spent a lot of time on this. I'm going to give you another minute, but we got to move on. People out here are waiting to address agenda items, and we're going to move on after you have 60 seconds. Go ahead.
I believe I deserve more than 1 minute after that long spiel, but I disagree with 75% of what you say. But I welcome the public to FOIA the emails that we've had back and forth, because it was you who told me that we can't do anything until Jen comes here and gives her presentation. So the meeting, Co-Chair Chaplinsky, myself, and Jen had just met, and we agreed that there wasn't going to be much we can do until we get a consultant, because the RFP came back unfulfilled. So you mentioned what the town manager said today. I mentioned what the town attorney. I went and got a legal opinion. What happened was unethical and it wasn't transparent.
Okay,
So-
well, why don't, and let's just put this to bed right now. So let's,
My time isn't up, Mr.
okay,
Chair.
I think it's more than
Yeah.
up, actually,
The-
so,
the
so
issue is
we'll
the
move forward.
commission-
As the chairman, I'm gonna move forward here, but I would encourage you to share this legal opinion that you claim to have and share it with all of us,
Yeah.
so all of us can see it. Because just like when a legal opinion was asked about an application that we had, I went there, I got it, and within an hour, I sent it out to everybody on this commission, so everybody had it. So I encourage you to share that legal opinion. Let's move on to item number 7, under chairman's comments. I'm going to read our meeting rules and guidelines. Good evening and welcome to tonight's meeting of the Southington Planning and Zoning Commission. My name is Robert Hammersley. I'm the chair of the commission, and I'd like to take a few moments to explain the meeting format. Aside from administrative items, tonight's meeting is comprised of 2 parts, the public hearing and the business meeting. We don't really have a public hearing tonight. That item is going to look for a table, so I'm not going to bore anybody with going through what that looks like, so we'll skip to the business meeting. During the business meeting, the commission deliberates on the applications submitted to the commission and decides how to act on them. I'm sorry, I would have told you that before you had to sit through all this, so my apologies. They were asked to provide, just to give you sort of some background, they were asked to provide some additional information. They want some additional time to put that information together for us. So they asked for a table later today, I think like an hour before the meeting. Otherwise, we would have put it up that this would have been tabled, but we weren't able to do that. So I apologize for your time, and I owe you 35 minutes. So you come to me, and that's 3 times 30. What's that? That's like 90 minutes. I owe you guys. I'll cut your lawn for you. I don't know. Yeah. Well, thanks for coming tonight, and we'll be back here in 2 weeks. So April 1, I think, is our next meeting, right, Dave? Yeah. Same time, same place. You too. Thank you very much. We deliberate on the application submitted to the commission and decide how to act on them. The commission may do one of 4 things. We may approve an application as submitted. We may approve it with stipulations, conditions, or modifications. We will table the action for a future meeting, or in some cases, deny the application. 4 affirmative votes of the commission are generally required to approve any application. If you have to leave the meeting before a decision is rendered, please feel free to call Dave LaValle at the end here for information on how we decided on any of these applications. And with that, we will move to item 9, public hearing, item 9A, PGX Holdings LLC. The applicant has asked for a table on this. Can we get a motion to table, Commissioner Woloski?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to ask for a table for ZC number 580.
Second.
Commissioner Coles with a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. So we're in the business meeting. Item 10A, this is you, Al. Item 10A, 1, 2, has 4 parts to it. I can read them off, you can read them off. I'm a little bit short on the voice, so I would appreciate if you wanted to do that for me. That would be much appreciated, please. Just identify yourself with your name and address, please, just so we can get it on the record.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Al Fiorello from the Southington Water Department. I'm the Assistant Superintendent. So item 1 here, ordinance appropriating $3,586,730 for costs related to the design and construction of a new treatment building for the Southington Water Department's well number 10, and authorizing the issuance of $3,586,730 in bonds, notes, temporary notes, and other obligations to finance the appropriation. Item number 2, ordinance appropriating $3.5 million for costs related to design and construction of fiscal year 2024 water main improvements, and authorizing the issuance of $3.5 million bonds, notes, temporary notes, and other obligations to finance the appropriation. Item number 3, ordinance appropriating $3.5 million for costs related to design and construction of lead gooseneck and water main replacement, Phase 1, and authorizing the issuance of $3.5 million bonds, notes, temporary notes, and other obligations to finance the appropriation. And item number 4, ordinance appropriating $3.5 million for costs related to the design and construction of lead gooseneck and water main replacement Phase 2, and authorizing the issuance of $3.5 million bonds, notes, temporary note, and other obligations to finance the appropriation.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. I understand all these are ready to go, Dave, yeah?
Correct, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah. So again, this is just before I recognize you, Caleb, and I'll do that in a second. In 824 is Section 8-24 of the Connecticut State Statutes, General Statutes, which requires that any local improvement of roads, in this case, I believe all these are roads or water main.
Yeah, all but one. Item number 1 is a water treatment building.
Yeah, well, I'll just say this, any local improvements of this type or these types are required to be approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission of the town. So in this case, the town council, who has the appropriation authority for these items, are required to send it to us first to get us to report favorably on them or not. Whether we do report favorably or not, to be blunt about it, kind of doesn't matter, except that they have it. So, but anyways, I've said enough. Commissioner Coles.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So my questions are about items 3 and 4, lead gooseneck replacements.
Yes.
So my question is this, is that a required change out of all lead gooseneck service lines in the municipality by the federal government?
It is currently not required by the EPA at this time.
So just to give you some background, I'm not talking crazy.
We never think you're talking crazy.
I wouldn't go that
Well, I
far.
mean,
So I've
not here.
I've been as an environmental consultant and as a public health official for the past, between the two jobs, about 30 years. Well, 25. We'll call my son younger. In that time, I have twice tested water that has had lead in it, to the point where it's over the threshold for exposure for a child by the state of Connecticut regulations. $7 million is a lot of money, and I question the necessary expenditure of this. Is it to change out the goosenecks?
It's the water main replacement.
So the
Oh.
gooseneck is, and I know enough about this to be dangerous. So the service line, for everyone's edification, is the water department sends their line out in the mains, and then from the main to your lateral to your house, there's a service connection called the gooseneck. And so that can occasionally be lead or some other kind of material. The question is, and what EPA is looking to do here, is to try to identify where the risk is, so that we don't have lead poisoned kids, which is a big deal. My concern is to your benefit, we have good water quality here in Southington. And not to talk about Flint, Michigan too much, but this is not Flint, Michigan. And I think that you guys do a heck of a job, better than Flint, Michigan ever did for that catastrophe. My concern is that if we have good water chemistry, and we're not concerned about lead service lines leaching into domestic housing, why would we spend $7 million?
Well, currently, right now, through DWSRF with the Department of Public Health, they're offering 50% subsidy. So there's an incentive here for us to take care of these lead goosenecks with the 50% subsidy. So it actually is 3.5 million. You're saying the total is 7, but we will obligate it to pay back half of that.
To that even, I don't want to spend a dime on it, because I don't think it's necessary. And for the reasons that I think that you guys do good work, and to identify that a house does have a lead gooseneck is not known, because when there's limited record keeping as to when the construction happened, if that lateral is connected to the main with lead. So
We have incredible records. We have records for every single service in town.
we do.
Absolutely. Beginning in 1884.
Fantastic. Kudos.
So we completed our required EPA inventory. We submitted that at the end of October. And out of 14,000 service connections, we identified maybe 300 or 400 unknowns.
Unknowns being potential to have the lead gooseneck.
No, we call them applications. The applications for each services indicate on the card the existence of lead goosenecks.
Okay.
So lead gooseneck is only 22 to 26 inches long, and the rest of it's of different material.
Right.
So, you know, the section like on Berkeley, I mean, those are all lead goosenecks on Transite Main. So to replace the service and not the main, you'd never want to re-tap into a Transite Main and leave an open corporation in a main like that?
So are we looking to replace the transite main also?
Yes.
Okay, different story.
Yeah, so it's water main replacement, it's upsizing, undersized water main along Berlin Street, that's 8-inch, that should be 12, because of it transports water across town, we need a larger diameter main. So this is just the beginning, and out of 14,000 services or so, there's maybe it's between 300 and 335 identified lead gooseneck services. And we have 10 years to get those all out of the ground. This is actually just kind of the first phase. And this section of Maine is, these are all grouped together, so we're gonna do them all at once, but there's all salt and pepper ones all throughout town. The older sections sound like Bristol Street, Main Street, Summer Street, Church, all those older sections of town, those are the areas that have them.
Okay, all right. I feel more comfortable if you're gonna do the main anyway and we're there,
Yes.
then just replace it.
Yeah, I mean, Vermont Terrace is another example where, there's a 2-inch main there that's undersized for fire protection. That has 1910 cast iron main, so we're gonna replace the main along with the services. There's maybe 4 goosenecks in that section. So we're kind of, it's not just the goosenecks, it's identifying areas that have reduced fire protection because of the size of the main as well. So you're killing a couple birds.
Yeah, no,
So-
with that, it makes perfect sense.
Right.
That alone, just digging a hole to replace the gooseneck is a lot of.
No, it's
for
a
not-
daunting project, and it's gonna be, residents are gonna have to be kind of patient during
Yeah.
the process, so.
No, you got your work cut out ahead of you.
Yes.
But good job
I
with all the
appreciate the
record keeping.
questions.
Good, thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
You all set?
Appreciate your time and
No problem.
indulging me.
I have 14 years environmental consulting background as well.
We can't get away from it, can we?
No.
Commissioner Wolowski.
So with all that said, this may be some commentary, but it's also for Commissioner Coles. Are you satisfied that our water department, our town council, our engineering department, and our town planners have pushed this forward in the proper way?
Oh, absolutely. This,
I mean,
the way,
Like,
the way I read
You
it,
said
Hold on,
it, you
hold
said
on.
it, this is my clock. You said it yourself that you know enough to be dangerous, but you kind of weren't educated in terms of how well prepared these gentlemen were. So, it's a lot of money, 50% subsidy. Not only are we improving the infrastructure, but we're saving the town 50%. Let's,
No, it really is a
pump the
great
brakes every
opportunity.
now and again. Thank you.
No problem.
All set? Any other questions of the applicant or the applicant's representative? You're not the town, but you're the town's representative, right?
Yes.
So, anyone else? Okay.
I would just like to
Jamie?
say-
Yep.
I wish there was just a little bit more respect up on here tonight, because the disrespect that I'm seeing is just mind-boggling.
Okay. Well, that comment's not really in order, so,
I
but
think it is in order.
Al, you all set?
I am all set.
Okay. And Dave, you said that this is all set to be acted on?
Yes, Mr.
Do we have to
Chairman.
do all 4 of these separately, or can we do them all as one piece?
It's one referral, and we just listed all 4, so if you just want to say all 4 items listed in the mandatory referral, you should be fine.
Okay, so we're looking for a motion on item 10A. Commissioner Wolowski,
I'll make a motion to approve item 10A.
we have a motion. Is there a second?
second.
Commissioner Coles, did I get that right? Yep. With a second, any further discussion? Do we need a roll call on this?
Sure.
Yeah? Okay.
Commissioner Coles,
Yes.
Commissioner Sewell,
Yes.
Commissioner Gaida,
Yes.
Commissioner Salmieri,
Yes.
Commissioner Chaplinsky.
Yes.
Commissioner Wolowski.
Yes.
And Chair Hammersley.
Hammers is a yes. Motion carries 7-0. Congratulations.
All right.
Good
Thank you,
job.
Commissioners.
You earned your keep. Now you can go home and eat dinner, so.
All right. Thanks again.
Item 10B, again, we have a table on this, so can we just get a motion to table?
I'll make a
Commissioner
motion to
Lawson?
table ZC number 580.
Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Salmieri with a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 10C, G and Z Properties. Request for a 5-year extension, property located at 320 Captain Lewis Drive. This is owned in an I-1, SPR 1817. This is their first request for a 5-year extension, right?
Yeah, this would be for the next phase of the building that's out there.
Which we're required to give them a 5-year extension, correct? Right?
Yeah, there's nothing that would hold it up, Mr. Chairman.
Right. Okay, so we're looking for a motion to approve this 5-year request. Commissioner Orlowski,
I'll make a motion to approve SPR number 1817.
is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Sewell with a second. Is there any discussion? We do a voice vote on this thing?
Sure.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Administrative items. Dave, you want to explain this one? Because we took this one up at the last meeting.
Sure, Mr. Chairman. Previously, it was just under new items and anything we need to schedule, but now the commission agreed that it can be approved under administrative review. It's for Titan Solutions. They're doing 2 EV chargers in an existing parking lot adjacent to the Dunkin' Donuts on 7024 Main. As I understand it, it's a fast charging system, and they're working with engineering to make sure that there's no conflicts with the routing of the wires and what have you. And there will be other locations in town.
Okay, and as commission members may recall, we authorized Dave to deal with this administratively at the last meeting, so we'll move along that path moving forward, but it showed up again because I think we had some additional information that came up. Administrative items, 2 other things. Mandy Taylor, the administrative assistant in the planning department, sent out an email to all commission members letting them know about some Yukon Clear training that's available on April 11th from 9 to 11th at the Yukon Middlesex branch in Haddam. Commission members are reminded, as I've done previously, that they are required to complete a certain, I don't know what the number of hours are, of training every, we'll say 2 years. Caleb, I think you did this last year or the year before, maybe?
It was a good program.
It is a
I
good
enjoyed
program.
it.
I've done it before a couple times, and it's very informative. Anyone who's not done it, I would encourage you. I know it's 3 hours out of your time. Volunteer again.
Lunch was
They
included.
they are
Trying to
serving
sell it.
refreshments, though, according to the email that Mandy forwarded. So at least you'll get that, which I think was more than I got, because I think when I did it during COVID. So it was sit in front of a computer for, I think mine was like 6 hours, but it doesn't matter. Anyways, just a reminder on that. Last thing I'm going to say, and I've spoken to each of you about this, but just for public edification, I was diagnosed with cancer in April of '23, and I went through a couple rounds of chemo, as most of you know, and then radiation therapy late last year and earlier in 24, which I thought addressed most of what I had. I have stage 4 neck cancer, and it had spread to my upper chest and lung area. Again, in the interest of transparency, I'm letting people know. I was diagnosed, or I had a PET scan in January of this year, a couple months ago, showed a recurrence of cancer activity in my lung and my chest area, and I'm scheduled to start another regimen of chemotherapy next week. I also had the privilege, I guess, of being referred down to Sloan Kettering in New York to look at any clinical trials that they may have available. There weren't any available at this time. However, they suggested I get a genetic biopsy done on my tumor in my lungs, which I'm going to have done. I have a consultation next week, so that will be scheduled as well. Unfortunately, I have a cancer that is a terminal variety that is not curable, and will eventually, as I looked at my forms when I was going through this initially, and they asked the question, does the applicant have an illness that will ultimately result in their death? And you're watching the bureaucrat answer yes, and you're like, man, that sucks, right? The last thing I'll say, As I've said to my wife, and I'll share with everybody in this community, this disease that I have, while unfortunate, it will not define me at any point. It never has. My battle, however, against this disease, I want you all to pay attention to it, because I hope you all take some strength and inspiration from that. That will define me, and I will make sure that that defines me. And that's why I share these updates on a regular basis, not because I'm looking for anything other than for you all to understand the things that cancer patients go through on a regular basis. Every day this happens. So please, I've said it before, get a scan done. It's the only way you can catch my kind of cancer. My cancer is preventable and curable if it is caught soon enough. If you have not, if you are under the age of 45 and you have not gotten your HPV vaccine, do it. It's not comfortable. My wife went through it. It's painful. Have your kids get it done? Because had I gotten it done, I probably wouldn't be in this situation. But in some ways, that wasn't an option for me because I'm too old. But in any event, timing's everything, right? In any event, I may not be here as much as I'd like to. I will endeavor to be here as much as I can. If I'm not, Commissioner Wolowski will take over the reins, just as Commissioner Solka did, people who were here 2 years ago when I went through that. I'm fully confident that Commissioner Wolowski will do a great job. I ask you all to give him the same respect that you give to every other member of this commission, and make sure that you continue to do what I know all of us do, and that's do what we think is in the best interest of the people of this town. I appreciate each and every one of you to the moon and back. I wish you all well. With that, if we can get a motion to adjourn, please.
Mr. Chair, can I have 1 minute, please?
Sure.
I'm very sorry to hear about your medical condition, and I know Vice Chair Walowski will do a wonderful job, but just back to the comment, we listened to you about 15 or 20 minutes about transparency. We've had 4 people speak tonight about that transparency did not happen at the last meeting, and a 5th person
Okay,
did
can we
not
get a
want-
motion to adjourn, please? Can we get a motion to adjourn?
We just listened to you for 10 minutes talk about your medical
I'll
condition.
make a motion to adjourn.
There's a motion to adjourn. There's a